Hello friends, welcome to this video that will change your life about the incredible power of breathing. Breathing is not just inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide, it is much more than that. Breathing is life and has a hidden power that most people are unaware of. You will see, there are ancient traditions that reveal a deep connection between our breath and our mind. Believe it or not, the key to calming that restless voice in your head is as close as your next breath. Want a shocking fact? A study found that simply observing your breathing, without trying to change it, reduces activity in the part of your brain where worries, plans, and distractions reside. Just by paying attention to your breath as it comes and goes naturally, now you may be wondering how that is possible. How can something we take for granted have such a healing mental power? Do not leave. At the end of this video, we will reveal this ancient breathing secret to calm the most frenetic mind. Before revealing these ancient secrets, first, we are going to immerse ourselves fully in this mind-breathing relationship. And what better way than listening to a fascinating Zen story about it? I am going to tell you a traditional story full of teachings that will show you this link in a more tangible way. Then, to finish squeezing out this powerful but at the same time subtle connection, I will share with you 20 amazing breathing secrets to calm the mind. They are simple but profound techniques that you will be able to apply in your daily life when you feel your mind racing or stressed. So first, relax and enjoy this eye-opening story, and then get ready to memorize these 20 mental breathing tricks that I promise will make a tangible difference in the way you feel and cope with daily challenges. Let's move forward. Your calm is waiting for you on the other side. The stingy monk was alone in the forest, fighting his restless mind while he tried to meditate. The thoughts came one after another without rest, preventing him from quieting his mind. Frustrated, he jumped to his feet. "It's useless," he shouted towards the trees. The sound of his voice scared away some nearby birds that flew towards the cloudy sky. Taken began to walk aimlessly through the forest, feeling defeated. His teacher had entrusted him with that 3-day meditation test, and he hadn't even been able to. After a few hours, the voice of his thoughts was too loud and music, distractingly. He felt the first drop of rain on his head. He looked up, and the sky lit up with lightning, followed by a loud clap of thunder. In a matter of seconds, the soft drizzle turned into a torrential downpour. Taken ran, looking for shelter, with the lightning intermittently illuminating his path. The storm grew worse and worse. The strong winds bent the treetops, and the gusts of rain hit the face of the merciless monk. When Taken already felt that his strength was abandoning him, he saw the entrance of what looked like a cave. He gathered his last energy and ran towards that potential refuge, entering its depth just as the climax of the electrical storm broke out. Once inside the cave, soaked and with his heart racing from the race under the heavy rain, Taken dropped to the ground. His frantic breathing was the only thing that could be heard, besides the distant patter of the rain at the entrance of the cave. Little by little, his pulse normalized, but his mind was filled with gloomy thoughts. "I am a failure," he told himself over and over again. He had been trapped in that cave in the middle of nowhere. He would not be able to complete his test. His teacher would feel very disappointed. The negative thoughts were swirling without control. Taken held his head in despair. Tears began to roll down his cheeks. He was alone, trapped in that cave. The storm seemed like it would never end. Out of nowhere, Taken felt a strange aroma that caught his attention. He sniffed the air like a hound. That smell transported him to some distant memory that he could not specify. Taken got up, driven by the enigmatic aroma that had caught his attention. He slowly entered the cave, following the trail of the smell. As he advanced through the depths of the mountain, Taken felt the temperature increase. At first, it seemed like a pleasant warmth after having suffered the freezing rain. But as he approached the origin of the aroma, the heat became unbearable. The young monk was bathed in sweat, but his mind was focused only on finding out where that fascinating smell was coming from, almost as if a magical force was pushing him. He did not care about anything else, not even the suffocating heat or the narrow, dark rock passage that surrounded him. Suddenly, the narrow tunnel opened, giving way to a stupendous underground cavern, dimly illuminated by the glow of burning lava gushing from cracks in the walls and rough floor. He was on the edge of an inactive volcano. The tantalizing aroma came from there. As if spellbound, with his clothes stuck to his body from sweat, Taken approached the edge of a crevice through which melted reddish rock was sliding. Then, just when a voice was about to appear, it powerfully shouted behind him, "Stop!" The young monk was startled, turning quickly. In front of him, there was an old bald man dressed in a simple gray robe. His eyes were closed, but he emanated an unalterable calm. Taken knew instantly that he was a master. "Come, sit with me." The old man had been exposed for too long to the toxic vapor of that lake of fire, he told him in a calm voice. Tan obeyed in silence as he moved away from the intoxicating volcanic aroma. He felt as if he had woken up from a dream. He soon regained his lucidity and began to feel weak and dizzy, about to fall unconscious on the edge of the volcano. "Take a deep breath, the fresh air will help you recover," said the man as he offered him a bowl of water. Taken drank eagerly. With each deep breath, he felt the energy return to his already recovered body. Taken told his entire story to the mysterious old man who had rescued him from falling prey to the volcanic sorcerer. He told him of his struggles to quiet his mind, his master's meditation challenge, and how he had become trapped in the cave fleeing the raging storm. The wise monk listened attentively, nodding in silence from time to time. When Tatsuan finished his story, the old man spoke slowly. "I have dedicated my life to the study of the restless nature of the mind. Just like you, many spiritual seekers come to these places fleeing from internal storms, longing for mental calm, but very few achieve it. You managed to overcome the hypnotic attraction of the sleeping volcano." Taken understood that he referred to the spell that almost led him to look into the burning lava. The volcanic aroma clouds the mind and weakens the will. It represents worldly desires, distractions, everything that prevents us from quieting the spirit to meditate. The monk continued, then adopting a more animated tone, he declared, "But do not fear, young friend, now that you have managed to overcome the attraction of the base instincts, I can impart a unique knowledge to tame the restless mind through breathing." The young monk's eyes lit up upon hearing those words. Finally, someone would show him the key to calm that incessant inner voice. The monk proceeded to explain an ancient technique of counting inhalations and exhalations. This simple task, requiring constant effort, prevented any other thought from taking control. With practice, Taken would be able to extend the count and thus prolong the spaces of mental stillness. Taken dedicated the following hours to mastering the technique under the watchful eye of a wise man. The monk managed to count up to higher numbers before losing concentration. Each time, he achieved longer periods of serene mind through respiratory counting. But just when he was preparing to rest, a roar shook the cavern. Taken jumped to his feet when a loud roar shook the cave. He looked alarmed in all directions, trying to discover what had caused it. The old monk remained immutable, with his eyes closed and his back straight, sitting in a lotus position on a flat rock. "Do not be afraid, young friend. That sound corresponds to the awakening of the great bear that inhabits these caves," he said with total calm and serenity. In fact, the monk seemed to shine, emitting a faint golden light as if he were entering a very high meditative state. However, Taken could not calm down. He knew that Tibetan bears could be very aggressive, and he feared that the noise indicated the beast was rapidly approaching their position. Effectively, in a matter of seconds, powerful wheezing passed through the dark tunnel from which he had arrived, following the intoxicating volcanic aroma. The bear's snorts sounded increasingly louder and closer. Taken began to panic. He desperately looked for an alternative exit, but there was none. He was completely cornered. It was then when he remembered the teachings to calm the mind that he had just received. He should focus on counting inhalations and exhalations, closing his eyes. Taken prepared to resume the respiratory counting technique. The powerful snorts of the bear already felt on top of them. When he began to inhale and exhale, pronouncing numbers, Taken felt his pulse slow down. When the furious bear burst into the cave, Taken was on the number 8, inhaling and exhaling with his eyes closed, focused only on his breathing. The imposing bear stopped in front of the young monk, intrigued, sniffed at Taken, who remained motionless, counting breaths. After examining him for a few moments, the animal turned around and walked away from where it had come. Taken opened his eyes in relief. It had worked. Calming his mind, focusing on his breathing, allowed him to keep calm and avoid the attack of the bear. Elated after having managed to stay calm and avoid the attack of the bear, thanks to the breathing counting technique, Taken knelt gratefully in front of the elderly monk, who remained imperturbable in the lotus position on his large rock. "Master, I completely owe my life to you. Your teachings on using the breath to quiet the disturbing mind have proven to be incredibly effective and saved me from certain death. Please, I need you to show me more of your profound knowledge to achieve complete mastery of my mind." The sage monk opened his deep amber eyes and looked benevolently at Taken. "My young friend, it fills me with pride and hope that you have understood the great secret that links breathing with peace of mind, using the simplest but most powerful of techniques. Now you are prepared so that I can impart more advanced knowledge to you about that mysterious connection between the breath and the mind." Having said that, the old monk stood up with agility despite his age and indicated that Taken should follow him. They left the volcanic cavern, entering through narrow tunnels that Taken had not noticed before, illuminating the path with torches. After walking in silence for almost an hour, they glimpsed the exit of the cave. An intense and warm light flooded the outside, indicating that the storm had stopped. When they left, they saw a lush spring landscape with meadows full of wildflowers and rays of sunlight sneaking through the tops of the tall trees. A crystalline stream flowed nearby with its relaxing sound. "This is a very special place of great healing power for the restless mind," explained the monk. "Here lives a solitary healer, very skilled at treating spiritual ailments using the energies of plants and Mother Earth." The healer, named Isara, received them with a bow and a warm smile. The old monk told her the story of Taken and his recent progress in mastering his restless mind using breathing techniques. Isara listened thoughtfully as she examined the young pupil from head to toe. Finally, she told them to follow her to her small cabin near the stream. She offered them a seat around the fire on fluffy wool pillows. Once they were settled, Isara spoke, looking intently at Taken. "I see a lot of turbulence in your eyes, young man. Although you have advanced on the path towards mental stillness, you still need to connect more deeply with your body." Immediately afterwards, he took several dry branches and threw them into the fire while singing some chants in an arcane language. The flames grew intense and vivid, adopting a bluish color. The environment was filled with a pleasant fragrance. The fire purifies us and reminds us that everything flows, nothing remains unchanged, just like our breathing, just like our thoughts that come and go. After meditating on those words in front of the flames, Isara indicated to Taken to lie face up on some soft cushions. She skillfully placed her hands on the young man's abdomen. "Take a deep breath, filling your entire belly with air, then release it very slowly, deflating your body like a water skin." Taken followed Isara's instructions, being surprised by the capacity of his lungs. Inhaling had never before filled his abdomen with air like this, and when he released it, he felt a pleasant sensation of relaxation running through his extremities. Thus, they continued for a long time. With hesitation, inhaling all the air he could and holding it for a few seconds, then Isara instructed him to release it very gradually. Each exhalation was more relaxing than the previous one. Little by little, Takin felt that his mind was becoming in sync with that deep breathing rhythm. When he opened his eyes, the blue flames seemed to dance, reflected in his gaze. Serene, Isara worked for a long time with Takin, guiding him to connect his breathing with a feeling of calm that spread to his limbs. Eventually, when she saw that the young monk had adhered well to the technique, the old healer began to prepare a medicinal tea with aromatic herbs. While she poured water into a cauldron and crushed plants with the help of the old monk, they told him some traditional stories about the mysterious relationship between breathing and the mind. One of those stories that most impressed Takin was that of a famous hermit, Sen, who managed to calm his mind and avoid death during an attack by bandits, thanks to focusing solely on his breathing. That monk was meditating in a cave when he was approached by 3 dangerous outlaws armed with knives, who demanded all his valuable belongings. The old man, who only had his humble robe, spoke to them with great calm. "Gentlemen, I regret that I have nothing material to offer you, but if you sit with me, I can share with you a treasure that will make you rich in spirit." Intrigued, the bandits agreed to listen to him. The monk proceeded to guide them in a breathing exercise, asking them to close their eyes and concentrate only on their inhale and exhale. After a few minutes, those fearsome criminals burst into tears, disarmed before the healing power of meditation. Takin was amazed by that story. How great the power of breathing was to transform troubled minds. He longed to learn everything possible to follow that path. After the healing session, when the sun began to set, descending on the horizon, the old monk prepared to leave, heading back to his caves together with Takin. Thanking Isara deeply for sharing her knowledge, the old woman bid them goodbye with a big hug and these words for the young pupil: "Remember, breathing is the anchor that holds your restless mind in the present." That night, after exhausting his energy training for several hours with the respiratory techniques he had learned, Takin retired to rest in a small stone cell. He was certain that his most restful night of sleep, free of turbulent thoughts, awaited him. Takin woke up at dawn feeling completely rested after a restful night's sleep, just as he had hoped. The powerful rays of sunlight illuminated the small stone cell where he had rested on a straw cot. Ready to take advantage of the day, he quickly cleaned himself and dressed in his simple linen robes. He then went out in search of his venerable master. The old cave monk was found sitting in a lotus position in front of the cave entrance, bathed in the golden light of the rising sun. "Good morning, great sage. Would you allow me to accompany you in your morning meditation?" Takin asked, kneeling next to him on the wet grass. "I am very happy to see you so rested and alert, young friend. Your inner radiance is evident. You have progressed enormously in these days. Join me in silent contemplation as dawn breaks," the monk replied. Takin did so, closing his eyes and focusing his attention on the rhythm of his breathing, as Isara had taught him. Little by little, he felt his mind calm down, silencing the mental chatter. Suddenly, guttural croaks tore through the stillness of the morning. Takin opened his eyes, startled, and saw an enormous crowned eagle struggling to free itself from some rocks at the foot of the mountain, with one wing visibly injured. Without saying a word, Takin ran quickly to its aid, agilely climbing the steep slope. When he arrived next to the majestic bird, he proceeded to examine its wounds with great care. Applying gentle massages to the injured wing, the eagle, far from feeling intimidated by the human presence, stared at Takin, breathing heavily but without resisting, as if it knew that the young monk had good intentions. Takin spoke to it with a soft voice and a peaceful look while he manipulated the wing to evaluate the injury. Finally, after a few tense minutes, the bird was able to stand up and extend its powerful wings to their full span, squawking loudly. Takin smiled, satisfied that he had been able to help. The eagle rubbed its beak affectionately against the monk's cheek as a sign of gratitude before taking flight towards its freedom. Takin watched it fly away towards the horizon, his chest swollen with pride. All the calm he had acquired in these days of intense respiratory training had allowed him to gain the bird's trust and heal its wounds so that it could fly again. After having managed to rescue and heal the wounded eagle, thanks to the serenity achieved through his conscious breathing techniques, Taken felt more confident in himself and descended nimbly down the mountainside to join his revered master. The old monk, who was waiting for him outside the cave, greeted him with a proud smile on his wrinkled face. "Dear boy, you have left me speechless in the face of such a display of compassion and wisdom. Never forget that conscious breathing is the master key to connecting with our best nature," said the wise man, his voice clouded with emotion. Taken made a respectful bow, blushing at the well-deserved praise. There were no longer any doubts in his heart that he was on the true path to virtue and enlightenment, thanks to the mystical relationship between breath and mental stillness. As they spoke, the sky darkened as if it were night, and a violent wind began to hum, shaking the tops of the trees. Taken looked around in bewilderment as the force of the gale increased by the moment. It was then that he saw the figure of an old man walking painfully down the hill, helped by a cane, stumbling about to be knocked down by the strong gusts. Taken ran to help him, holding him firmly so that he would not fall. The old man smiled gratefully and introduced himself as Jo, a hermit from the nearby forests. He explained that he had to cross the mountain to reunite with his family after decades of meditating in solitude, but did not expect such a storm on his way. Knowing the dangers of the temporal and without a moment's hesitation, Taken invited him to spend a few days in the caves with the monk until the weather improved so he could safely cross the steep peaks. Thus, Taken set out to teach the hermit his breathing methods to help him stay calm in the face of the violence of the unleashed elements. He did so by guiding him during that confinement, forced by the storm, in exercises of inhalation, retention, and conscious exhalation that had a calming effect on both of them. Gradually, as their breathing calmed down in unison, so did the outside storm. After 3 days, when Jo felt ready to resume his journey, the sky dawned clear and completely calm. The storm had finally subsided, allowing the old hermit to continue his painful descent down the steep mountain slopes towards the reunion with his people. Taken accompanied him a long way to ensure that he could navigate the most difficult sections without problems. When he was sure that the man would be safe following the path, he said goodbye, wishing him the best of luck. The sky remained clear, but Taken had a feeling that it would be prudent to return as soon as possible to the safety of the caves. A dark cloud of bad omen could be seen on the horizon, and the squawks of the birds foreshadowed new extreme phenomena. He hastened back to the caves as quickly as possible. Having reached the cave, a rain of small but sharp ice stones began to fall, torn from the clouds by a very strong wind. It was the beginning of a great storm with temperatures below zero. Worried, Taken ran to collect more wood and basic provisions before being trapped. With the help of the old monk, they managed to isolate the entrance to the cave to protect themselves from the inclement weather that punished the mountain. They knew that they would very possibly be incommunicado for at least an entire week, surrounded only by ice and rock. To maintain calm in that hostile confinement, Taken proposed the practice of intensive breathing exercises. Thus, teacher and pupil sat face to face, regulating their inhalations and exhalations, trying to slow down their heart rates in the dim light of the torches. With great amazement, Taken experienced how, in very deep states of concentration on breathing, he began to have visions. He dreamed of events very distant in time and space. He could see his very prematurely deceased mother weaving by the fireplace in his distant childhood, or glimpse scenes of ancestral monks practicing meditation high in the Himalayas. He even thought he recognized some of the founders of Mahayana Buddhism conversing in the ancient Sanskrit language. These dream passages, by synchronizing his breath with that of his revered teacher, made him understand the ephemerality of ordinary linear time and the interconnection of all souls through universal breathing. After accompanying Taken throughout his inspiring journey of self-discovery, facing incredible challenges, and connecting deeply with his breath, a clear teaching emerges: the unbreakable peace of mind lies within us, accessible in each new conscious breath if we know how to tune into it. Quiet wandering thoughts through simple but powerful respiratory techniques can transform us as individuals, encounter after encounter with our purest essential being. The introspective journey that Taken undertook, guided by his spiritual mentors, is admirable. But now, the time has come for you to experience the surprising benefits of mastering the mind through breathing. I will reveal step by step 20 valuable pieces of secular knowledge to achieve clarity, focus, relaxation, and wholeness through something that we take for granted but that contains wonders. Our conscious breathing continues to listen and learn, and you will surely be smiling proudly from some distant and timeless holy mountain when you see that your journey inspired more seekers of mental stillness to breathe and be happy. Diaphragmatic breathing to reduce stress. Diaphragmatic or abdominal breathing is a very simple but powerful technique to combat stress and anxiety. It simply consists of inhaling deeply, filling the entire abdominal cavity with air, holding for a few moments, and then exhaling very slowly, emptying all the oxygen. By focusing on bringing the air to the area of the diaphragm, which is the muscle that separates the thorax from the abdomen, you manage to activate the parasympathetic nervous system responsible for relaxation and body calm. This is because the diaphragm massages the internal organs with its deep breathing movement, sending direct signals to slow down the heart rate and lower blood pressure. Practicing breathing with the abdomen a few minutes a day, especially in stressful situations, is highly recommended as it will help you recover calmness, lucidity, and control of your emotions. Counting when inhaling and exhaling calms the wandering mind. If your mind is a constant whirlwind of thoughts, if you find it difficult to focus, and your attention jumps from one idea to another without control, then this technique of counting while breathing will help you focus. It is an ancient practice from the Buddhist meditative tradition capable of calming the most hyperactive mental monkey. The best thing is that you can do it at any time and place, without needing more than to pay attention to your breathing. It simply consists of inhaling, counting mentally up to 4, then pausing without air for a count of 2, and finally exhaling for a count of 6. You repeat this cycle over and over again, every time you inhale and exhale. By having your mind focused solely on the respiratory count, distractions and automated intrusive thoughts begin to decrease. It is as if you gently but firmly indicate to your brain, now we will only pay attention to breathing, and you will calmly thank yourself for it. A study on Tibetan monks showed that this practice activates the frontal lobe of the brain, a region linked to emotional well-being, and also reduces anxiety and muscle tension. Just 5 minutes of breathing, counting inhalations and exhalations, and you will feel its calming effects. Although the ideal is to practice it for 15 or 20 minutes with your eyes closed to enhance internal focus, a key tip is not to get frustrated or abandon counting if your mind wanders. Simply start counting again from 1 every time you breathe in. Again and again, that is the key to progressively taming your mind monkey with kindness, patience, and perseverance. Remember the words of the great Buddhist master Padmasambhava, in the sphere of the meditator, the air is not confined because the sky lies in your heart. So breathe and raise your spirit. 3. Breathing slowly induces relaxation. If you feel that you are always accelerated and anxious, your breathing seems like a perpetual gasp while you go from one task to another without pause. This simple respiratory trick will make you slow down your body and mind in minutes. The key is to extend your breath so that they are as slow and deep as possible, savoring each inhalation and exhalation with complete calm. You will see that by lengthening that subtle respiratory rhythm, your entire nervous and metabolic system begins to slow down, as if by magic. Research confirms that 8 minutes of breathing slowly and deeply activates the parasympathetic nervous system responsible for the famous relaxation response. This causes a shower of calming and regenerating effects throughout the body. It reduces heartbeats per minute, lowers blood pressure, releases muscle tension, reduces cortisol, and reduces inflammation of cells and tissues. The traditions of yoga and Eastern meditation have known for thousands of years this redemptive power of deep and calm conscious breathing. The key is to find your resilient breathing rhythm, approximately 6 inhalations per minute. This is achieved by focusing all your attention only on inhaling, retaining the air briefly, and exhaling long and subtly. Not only will you feel the relaxing effects in the present moment and greatly reduce your stress and general anguish, but by practicing it regularly, most experts assure that symptoms of anxiety, chronic fatigue, and even autoimmune disorders are reversed. That you already know. When you notice that your mind is accelerated or agitated like the sea on a stormy day, find a quiet place, close your eyes, and breathe as slowly, lightly, and deeply as you can. It is your direct path to inner calm. 4. Breathe in and out slower to sleep better. If you have problems falling asleep or you wake up very often during the night, this breathing trick for sleeping will be of great help to rest deeply. It has been scientifically proven that breathing consciously and slowly has a sedative effect on the nervous system, inducing states of drowsiness and deep relaxation. This is because when we lengthen both inhalation and exhalation, we activate specialized sensory fibers called mechanoreceptors scattered throughout the lungs, chest, and neck. These nerve endings send direct signals to the brain, indicating that it should prepare for sleep by detecting a calm breathing pattern as a biological switch for rest. The technique consists of simply inhaling silently for a count of 5, briefly holding your breath, and then exhaling even more slowly for 7, repeating the cycle over and over again. You can do it lying in bed before going to sleep or at any other time of the day when you feel exhausted. To maximize its relaxing effects, visualize how with each longer exhalation, you release tensions and worries, freeing your body and mind from heavy loads. The regularity of that respiratory rhythm will make you feel overwhelmed in a few minutes with an exquisite sensation of calm and drowsiness, a precursor to the descent into the restful world of dreams. Even if you cannot fall asleep, the simple act of deeply oxygenating each cell and tissue from head to toe generates revitalizing neurochemical waves that relax and rest. So now you know, for sleep like a baby, focus your full attention on expanding that delicious dance of inhaling and exhaling without restraint. The veil of sleep awaits you on the other side. 5. Take a deep breath to calm yourself down quickly. If you are going through a moment of intense stress or anguish, if you feel anxiety and panic take over you, this simple but quick breathing trick will help you regain calm in a matter of minutes. It is called square breathing or box breathing and is used in yoga, meditation, and cognitive and behavioral therapies for its effectiveness in establishing states of serenity and relaxation, even in the more turbulent situations. You only need to inhale for a count of 4, hold your breath also for 4 counts, exhale in 4 counts, and finally hold without air for another 4 seconds, then repeat the cycle. That symmetrical rhythm of filling the lungs, pausing, emptying them, and holding again activates the vagus nerve, in charge of slowing down the heartbeat, lowering blood pressure, and reducing the secretion of stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. In just 1 minute of square breathing, you will begin to feel calmer and more centered. You can do it sitting at your desk, in the car stuck in a traffic jam, just before a challenging appointment or conference that generates anxiety, wherever you feel you are losing control. Breathing deeply in that 4x4 rhythm imposes a forced calm that expands, infecting your entire endocrine and immune nervous system. Not only does it mitigate panic and temporary anguish, but practicing it a few minutes a day generates enormous benefits for your physical and mental health in the long term. So now you know, when in doubt, take a deep breath, inhale serenity, exhale peace.